There are certain events that happen throughout your life where you can vividly remember exactly where you were at when you heard about it. I can remember September 11th, 2001. It was my junior year of high school. I was leaving first period. Everyone starts talking about a plane flying into the World Trade Center in New York City. About 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in Algebra 2 in Trig, and we actually watched live the second plane fly into the World Trade Center. February 7th, 2010, the day my Saints won their one and only Super Bowl. I can remember everybody that was at my apartment that night watching the Super Bowl with me. I remember Tracy Porter sealing the deal with a pick six from Peyton Manning. I remember Drew Brees holding his then young son catching all the confetti. Now, I'm sure all of you have certain days that are unforgettable. For the television industry, one of those days was June 1st, 1980. That day, 42 years ago, it changed the landscape of television forever. It was the day that a middle-aged entrepreneur named Ted Turner started the first ever 24-hour news network. Many experts at the time, they thought Ted Turner was out of his mind. How can you talk about the news for 24 hours a day? There's only enough news to fill 1 hour of television. Geniuses are often misunderstood. The truth is, Ted Turner was a visionary. He saw the future. Cable television was a novelty back in 1980. The vast majority of American households didn't have access to cable. That would rapidly change over the next 4 or 5 years. The first 11 years of its existence, CNN, it was like the bastard stepchild in the cable news, or in the news industry, I should say. The industry was still dominated by the big three, ABC, CBS, NBC. That all changed in 1991 with the Gulf War in Iraq. CNN was the only news network that was given unlimited access by the Iraqi government. For the first time, a war was being broadcast on live television as it happened. It launched CNN into the #1 slot on cable, a position that it held until 2002. Since 2002, CNN has alternated between #2 and #3 with MSNBC as far as cable news goes. For the first 10 years of the new millennium, CNN remained a hard news network. They had what I like to call infotainment shows like Larry King Live, but the bulk of their programming was hard news. That all changed in 2013 when Jeffrey Zucker took over the network. This was the beginning of the end for CNN. Jeff Zucker, he wanted the network back in the #1 slot. He decided that the best course of action to get there was to dive straight into partisan politics. From 2020 until now, the network has been the general of the woke Titanic, reporting directly to its captain, ESPN. Back in 2016, when Donald Trump became president, Jeff Zucker turned CNN into the communist news network. It was nothing but wall-to-wall Trump bashing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, that was a great plan. It really was. In the short term, ratings for CNN went through the roof. They were experiencing audience growth that they hadn't seen in decades. There was just one small problem. It's actually a problem that many businesses, especially in the sales industry, have themselves. You fall into this trap of being a one-trick pony. CNN was so effective in their Trump bashing, they were able to turn millions of people against them. The problem was Trump was CNN's only customer. Without Donald Trump, the network is irrelevant. They have no enemy. CNN only makes headlines today when one of their contributors like Jeffrey Toobin is stroking the woke sausage during a Zoom meeting. Which, by the way, Jeffrey Toobin didn't get fired for that shit. Can you believe that? Imagine you're on a Zoom meeting for your job, and one of your colleagues is watching the newest edition of Rachel Levine Spreads Her Cheeks, whacking his woke wanker. Instead of the company firing him, they fire you because you refuse to get Fauci fucked. That is exactly what happened to 3 staffers at CNN last summer. Anthony Fauci, he approached them for a nice round of Fauci fucking. They told him to go fuck himself, and CNN fired him. What was once a giant in cable television is now on life support. Hell, I don't know if you could even say CNN's on life support. Perhaps saying they're in a coma would be a better analogy because this network is dying a slow, painful death. This is one of the greatest collapses in the history of television. From January 2021 to January 2022, ratings on CNN fell 90%. 90%. 9-0. It is damn near impossible to get 9 out of 10 people to do anything at the same time. Yet somehow, CNN managed to turn off 90% of their viewers in 12 months. Coming off the heels of this excellent news, they decided it would be a good idea to launch their own streaming service, CNN Plus. This was a brilliant idea. Hey, Jeff and Jeff, I know the solution to our ratings problem. Let's charge people money to watch us. That way, we don't have to deal with these pesky advertisers who keep complaining that no one watches our garbage. Oh, CNN Plus. It had a legendary lineup. It featured one of our favorite virgins, Rex Chapman. Rexy back there. Rexy, he hosted a show with his fellow Twitter virgins where they discussed the best hand lotions to use for self-pleasure. They also had Chris Wallace, which perplexed everybody involved. No one could figure out why CNN would willingly pay Chris Wallace millions of dollars to not draw an audience. Chris Wallace is one of those rare people who's hated by everyone. He's not woke enough for the alphabeters, and he's too woke for the other 93% of the country, otherwise known as normal people. Rounding out the heavy hitters for CNN Plus was our favorite woke Halloween costume, Jemele Hill. Oh, Jemele, she's so talented. CNN estimated that millions of people would tune in to watch this human garbage disposal. Unfortunately for Jemele, her show would never premiere because CNN Plus was canceled after 2 or 3 weeks. Which brings us to today. Yesterday afternoon, cable ratings were released for last week, and it sent shockwaves through the news industry. Fox News, of course, was number one again. That wasn't all that surprising. Fox averaged 1.4 million viewers, 2.2 million in prime time. MSNBC came in second, a respectable 882,000, 1.4 million in prime time. I kept reading through the list, trying to find CNN. I kept coming across all these networks. Some of them I never even knew existed. Paramount, TV Land, something called INSP, Food Network, HGTV, Hallmark, on and on I went until I finally found CNN. CNN averaged 432,000 viewers, 504,000 in prime time. Now, if you're Bomani Jones of the WNBA, this would be great news. I can't believe it. Our ratings have 3 numbers in front of the comma and 3 numbers behind it. We have finally reached 6 figures. We are well on our way to justifying our woke welfare. Those numbers were actually the good news for CNN because it got far worse. CNN ranking 28th in cable, that's bad enough. That is a steep fall from grace. But when you dig into the demographics, which is all advertisers care about, you will understand why I'm saying that CNN is dying. Last weekend, June 18th, June 19th, CNN averaged just 67,000 viewers in the key 25 to 54 demo. It was the network's lowest number since 2000 and the network's smallest overall audience on a Saturday since 1993. Just to put that number in perspective, this channel you're watching right now, me, we had nearly 50,000 viewers last Saturday and Sunday, 50,000 48 hours. Almost 30,000 of those were in the 25 to 54 demo. Just think about that for a second. Some dumbass who converted a bedroom in his house into a makeshift home studio managed to draw half the audience of one of the oldest networks on television, a billion-dollar corporation. How is that possible? Where did CNN go wrong? They are learning the lesson that all social justice warriors learned the hard way. They are learning the same lesson Brittany Griner's learning right now. There is no loyalty in the woke movement. CNN chose the woke path and no one is watching. I'll show you some examples of why no one watches CNN. This is what they call news. Watch this garbage.
What good is it to have a mouth that says blue lives matter if you're going to have hands and feet that do this? Around 140 officers assaulted, some very badly. This is the truth. Period. It is no less the truth because Black Lives Matter supporters committed acts of violence too. Even if you want to believe that the media was okay with what they did, which sure as hell isn't true on this show. Now, too many see the protests as the problem. No, the problem is what forced your fellow citizens to take to the streets. Persistent and poisonous inequities and injustice. And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right. And we have to start doing something about them. There is no travel ban on them. There is no ban on, they had the Muslim ban. There is no white guy ban.
Over the last 10 months of the committee's investigation, we've already learned so much, thanks to scoop after scoop from CNN and other outlets. Yet, pro-Trump media has denied, deflected, defended, or just outright ignored the headlines. I mean, think about it. The coup plot was rooted in a big lie. And ever since then, new lies have surrounded it. Lies heard on shows like Tucker Carlson's on Fox and Greg Kelly's on Newsmax. It's so important to understand the divide in the media when it comes to January 6th. Two different extremes. I mean, look at MSNBC's coverage. January 6th mentioned more than 800 times so far on MSNBC this year, and fewer than 150 times on Newsmax. And many of those mentions on Newsmax are dismissing the attack.
It's tough. It's tough. So, I also feel for Chris, and I know it's tough for you, and we're all fighting and rooting for him tonight.
Well, sorry. I said I wasn't going to do this. Jesus. He's probably sitting at home laughing at me. So here's the thing.
No.
I have to, when I walk into work every day, and Chris and I are really good friends. We live near each other. And so when I walk into work every day, I have to walk by where Chris is. So I usually go to his office and I say, what's doing. Sometimes I bring the dogs and we just say hello. Anyway, he's just not here. And we have this great relationship.
I've known Chris. Chris and I go back to when he and I both worked at ABC. He was one of the first people to congratulate me when I was pregnant, telling me that meant I was healthy. Speaking of healthy, I don't know anybody else who is healthier than Chris.
Especially after what I learned last night. This virus came at me. I've never seen anything like it, okay? So yeah, I've had a fever. You've had a fever. But 102, 103, 103 plus that wouldn't quit. And it was like somebody was beating me like a piñata. And I was shivering so much that Sanjay's right. I chipped my tooth. These are not cheap, okay? And they call them the rigors, like rigors, R-I-G-O-R-S, but rigors. So the sun comes up. I'm awake. I was up all night. I'm telling you, I was hallucinating. My dad was talking to me. I was seeing people from college, people I haven't seen in forever. It was freaky what I lived through last night. And it may happen again.
My favorite clip is Don Lemon fake crying because his brother in woke, Chris Cuomo, came down with the COVID. Oh my God. Oh my God. Fauci hasn't taken his Viagra. My brother in woke can't get Fauci fucked. How will he survive the COVID? If I remember correctly, the entire story was bullshit. It was fake. Now, don't quote me on that. It's been over 2 years, but I think I remember hearing about Chris Cuomo faking the COVID or faking a COVID story, something to that effect. Either way, fake is the best way to describe the modern CNN. It's nothing but bullshit and propaganda, and it's the reason no one's watching. Literally, no one's watching. Now that Jeff Zucker's gone and CNN falls under the Discovery umbrella, the network claims to be changing. We're going back to real news. We're going to hire real journalists, not professional donut eaters like Brian Stelter or butt bongo aficionados like Don Lemon. Where have I heard something similar to that before? Oh, yeah, ESPN. ESPN claimed similar bullshit just a few years ago. We're going back to sports. We are leaving politics alone. Yeah, how in the hell did that work out? ESPN's more political today than it's ever been. Nothing lasts forever. I know there are billions and billions of dollars behind CNN, but how can you continue to justify paying someone like Don Lemon $4 million a year when he can barely draw 500,000 viewers? Hell, this dude drew 387,000 Monday night. I think most people today would rather have Donald Trump back in the White House. CNN is begging for Donald Trump to come back. That's the only thing that could save this network. They have no stars. Who was the network star at CNN? Anderson Cooper? Wolf Blitzer? Let me know what you think. Could CNN one day cease to exist? Do any of you ever watch that bullshit? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.